Hello, you have reached the Ties That Bind. And this is your host, Paula, and our co-host, Tiffany and James. And this is part two of what we started last week, which was part 3. So I guess it's part 3. It's part 3 of part 2 of part 3. So we're talking about health. We're talking about the food that we're eating. We're also talking about our mental state. Because once we get started, it sort of takes a long time, so we're not going to prolong the time, but I'm going to give it over to James and Tiffany so that they can introduce themselves, and we can go there from there. James?
Okay. Hello, everybody. I'm James, also known as The Bridge, and I look forward to having this conversation about health. I think it's going to be a good one.
Yes.
Hello, family. This is Tiffany. I'm here. This is Tiffany. I am the strategist, and as always, I like to try to bring some building blocks and some actual tangible steps that we can use to build ourselves and improve our community within our family and the community at large.
Yes. And, of course, I am Paula, and I am the storyteller. So, and you will find out why. So what we started out talking about was there's a show that's on, but it's not just that, but it does something to me whenever I see it. And so we were talking about obesity and how to get there. And some of them were, I think the youngest one I saw was 23, 25 years old, all the way up to 50-something. And when they get to 50, that's when they get to the point. I think the heaviest one I saw was the 900-pound guy, and he was 43. And so I think as they get older, the heavier they get. But the statement, our question was, why? How? And so it makes you, when you're looking at it, you're trying to figure out, how did you get here? What's going on? And so we had to start asking questions. We started asking questions of one another. And I think James brought up it's a mental, it's part of it is mental. Somebody brought that up. I don't want to lie and say who said it, who didn't. And then we went to the food. So that I wanted to bring in, and I don't know what I told you. This is the Ties That Bind. I don't know what I told you. You've tuned into the Ties That Bind. But my thing, I went, and a lot of stuff I record. I don't like to just watch television and see a whole lot of commercials and stuff. So I record everything that I see, and then I'll take it and I'll put it and save it, and I'll save little things on it. But I saw one the other night that touched me. I saw it last night. That touched me in a way that it never had touched me, because you could see you could actually literally. I think he was how old? I think he was 33, 26. He was 26, and you could see the pain in his eyes. But at that point, even though he was very articulate on how he felt and what he was adopted, and he always felt like that he was letting his parents down, and he was very articulate with that. But it was almost as though the parents didn't hear him. They had a goal for him, and they let it be known. The mama was very boisterous, and I'm not going to start calling names. And so I started talking, and I'm just like, and I've never, out of all the times that I've watched this, I've never looked up anything about it. I've never looked up what are they doing now? Have they kept the weight off? Whatever. But it was something about him. The moment I finished watching it, because as I was going to the end, I usually just fast forward, go to the next, whatever it is I'm going to watch next. And at the end it says, this is dedicated to, I almost called his name. This is dedicated to him. And then they had the date that he was born, 1987 to 2018. I was just like, he died? I was just like, are they talking about his mom? And I was just like, how? So then I started getting on there, and I guess my thing, I wanted to find out. I didn't want to say But I don't want to just get on here and talk about, he died and it was this, that, and the other. We surmise about what it is. But he killed himself. He shot himself.
Oh, wow.
Yes. And they found him dead at somewhere outside, and the police officer found him outside. And my thing was, oh, my God. And so that was going to the last part that we were going to talk about. So we're going to start there and then go back to the food, because that's something very, very important. But we have to pay attention to when people say things. And I think James told me something once. We were talking, and he said something, and he said something, but we have to pay attention when people say things, and you can see in their eyes when it's just, some people, you look at them and you know they're just hooked on food, they love food, and they have just given up, and they blah, blah, blah. This was not that. And it still touches me today. And I should have called you all and let you watch it, but by that time it probably was off because I record things. But it was, he killed himself, and and he had moved back home because, of course, they always go to Houston to get the surgery, but then they got to lose like 50 to 100 pounds before the doctor would give them the surgery. And my thing was, what is the point? I don't know why they don't start with therapy before you do the surgery, because you can lose weight by yourself, because you're going to have to. I think we talked about this. I said, when I told my dad I wanted to lose weight, he took me to the doctor. The first thing they did was put me on that medicine that keeps you, they say it's supposed to keep you from getting hungry or something. I don't know what the name of it is. Is it Fen-Phen or something? Do you all remember that?
I remember hearing about it.
Yeah. And see, I didn't know about it until I started looking it up the other night. That was what it was. They've taken it off the market and stuff. But I started paying attention because I was one of the ones who I would always go to my room. I never told my parents what I was feeling. I never told them. This is something I was just going in my head with it. And I said, this is crazy. You would take it, and it's like you were in another world, and you were sleepy, and you didn't want to get up, and you didn't want to do anything. But when you did get up, guess what? All you wanted to do was eat, whether you were hungry or not. And it was just like, well, if I've got to control myself with the medicine, then why do the medicine? So I stopped taking it. And so this is the thing that you're going to have to control yourself with the surgery and without the surgery. So why do the surgery? Is it just for money? Is it just because they're so heavy? We have a lot of questions with this. But I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to let you all, because I know you all hate to watch it, but this is something I've been watching for so long. But what are your thoughts on this?
You asked a bunch of questions.
Well, my thing was the mental part of it, how he kept telling his parents that he felt like that he was a burden to them, and they never paid attention to it, and it was just what they wanted. And the second thing is the health part of it, because we've gotten to the point where the medicine, we are a society. And I remember I was talking to somebody, we were talking the other night, and I was just like, you know what? My mom was hooked on medicine for a very, very long time. I didn't realize it until I went there to take care of her when she got sick. But this is not something that's it's just coming to light because we have so many cameras, everything is so fast, and everything is recorded and stuff. But I realize now a lot of things that when she would get frustrated, when she would get upset, and I told my sister, it was Stephanie, and it was talking. I said, she said something. I said, Steph, I said, you can't say that. I said, because a lot of times, and it's a joke to me, and I had gotten it off of some show. But I said, when they were sleeping with what is the name of that pill? She was sleeping with, whatever. she was sleeping. That was what was the name of it? It's that real strong opiate that they used to give them a long, long time ago. She was sleeping with that, and that was what she was doing. That was, and then your body is a hook to it. So this is what I'm talking about the those three things, because this is, I'm not even asking just for the audience. I'm asking this for myself, because now I've gotten to the point, because it's been so long, I only eat once a day. But I'm always cautious about what I'm eating, because I was overweight for a long, long time. And I know I went from one end of the spectrum to the other. I went from being obese to being a size 4. And that was not, I have a large frame. That was not something, a size 4, I mean, I could put anything on. And that was me going, I would go through extremes. I would go from one addiction to another addiction. And so this is something that and so I'm saying this, but does that explain what I'm trying to say, or the question that you asked?
You kind of ping pong around a lot. I think the first question you asked was, the first question I think you asked was, Dr. Now, I guess he has them lose a certain amount of weight before he will perform the surgery. And
right.
I think you're asking why he does that. I don't know. I think that's what you were asking.
No, I was saying, why can't they start with the therapy before they do the surgery? Because some of them, if you're weighing 399 pounds, and then within 2 months you've lost almost 200 pounds, why was it necessary for the surgery? Why can't we? And my thing is we're so addicted to something controlling us. And I guess I just want to know what your thoughts on what I'm talking about. Just not about the fatness or about the show, because I know I'm the only one that's watching it, but it's where we are right now in society, that something has to control us. We have to feel that fuzzy feeling. Instead of feeling whatever it is we're feeling, we'll get drunk, we'll smoke, they have something for you all the time.
Well, okay. What I think you're asking, let me answer what I think you're asking. So from my experience, and I've been through quite a lot of grief counseling over the past 6 or 7 months, one thing that I learned about how we as Americans in general deal with things is by finding ways to, instead of experiencing whatever it is that we're experiencing, find substitutes to relieve that energy. So what they call it in the the school of learning that I'm in is a STIRB, which is a short-term energy relieving behavior. STIRB. And basically it's when you find little things to push back your pain or your emotion so that you don't have to feel the emotion.
Okay.
And the issue with that is it's only temporary, and it's not a long-term solution, because at the end of whatever it is that you're doing to distract yourself, your pain, your grief is still right there waiting for you. So I think that that is something that we're conditioned to do, and I caught myself doing it this morning. You don't think about it because no one's ever stopped and pointed it out to you that you're doing it, but we do it all the time. Whenever we're bored, we pick up our phones. Whenever we're sad, we go eat something. Whenever we're lonely, we do all these things instead of just allowing ourselves to experience whatever our emotions are. We've told ourselves that the pain is too much, so if I distract myself, then that makes it better. When it really doesn't. It doesn't make it better. It doesn't make it do anything but wait, and it waits for you patiently until you're done distracting yourself, and then there it is again. And like I was saying, I caught myself doing it this morning because my daughter, I was telling James and Paula off air that she fell this morning because she's starting to pull up on furniture and stuff, and she fell and she busted her lip. And my first reaction was, after I checked to make sure she was okay, was to give her a cookie, which this is me passing on that ignore your pain. Here's something to distract you. Here's something to distract you from your pain. Instead of just letting her go through her full range of emotions, give her a hug. She can still have a cookie later, but it has to be separate from the emotional event, so that she doesn't learn that she needs a cookie when she's hurt.
Exactly.
Right.
And that's what I have noticed the people on the show, I'm sorry, James, saying that they have related whatever pain they were going through with the food that they were eating. So yeah, I'm saying that to agree with what you're saying. That's true. But see, what made you? Is it because you're introspective with yourself all the time, or is it because you're talking, or is it because we're talking about it that your mind started to think about it? Because my thing is, because our whole, and I don't know, people don't realize why we got on this, but it's not spiritual. It's not religion. It's not. This is spiritual and what God put inside of us. And one of the things, and what we know the most is the Bible. And it says that, forsake not the assemblings of yourselves together. And so I say that, is it because we talk about it so much? Because we've always done this. We've always got on the phone and talked, or we were talking somewhere about something, whether we agreed or not agreed, So what made you stop and say, no, this is not the way I want to go, to stop that pattern?
So for those who don't know, my son passed away last year, and people will always say, I'm sorry for your loss, and it would make me angry because they didn't lose anything, and they don't know, they're not me, and they didn't lose my son. So, for them to talk about my grief in such a, I don't know, it was almost like that was supposed to make it better, when nothing makes it better. Nothing makes it better. And people would always say, oh, well, you're strong, or, have faith in the Lord and all that stuff. And while I do believe those things are true, that did not solve my grief. And it won't solve your grief. You have to experience your grief. Grief is a natural. Grief is and I'm speaking for grief specifically, but this goes, in my belief, this is the solution for pain in general. No matter what your pain stems from, there's nothing that you can do to escape your pain except for to experience your pain. And you have to make peace with it and let go of your relationship to the pain associated with your loss, or associated with your, because there's lots of different types of losses. There's loss of loved ones, there's loss of faith, there's loss of esteem, there's lots of different loss events that we go through. And I think from what I've learned, a lot of the things that we associate as painful memories are really issues of grief that we just haven't dealt with. People, there's this, I can't think of the name of the lady, but she wrote a book called On Death and Dying, and she talked about the stages of dying. And somehow people started associating the stages of dying with the stages of grief. And there's no such thing as stages of grief. There's no stage to grief. It's just something that you're experiencing, and it's different for everyone. And I don't want to get off on a tangent, but what made me realize that wasn't working for me was the fact that it wasn't working for me. Nothing that anyone said made me better. Nothing made me better. No scripture made me better. No, going out for a cup of coffee, hanging out with friends, sleeping all day, nothing made me feel better. The only thing that made me resolve my grief was to face it and to experience it and to talk about it. And I had to do those things in order to get to a place now where I feel like, even though I still think about it every day, but I'm at a place where I can live day to day and I'm not stuck under it. And I don't feel like I'm going from one energy relieving behavior to the next, trying to hide from it.
Because we have James, because men deal with stuff when women go through emotional problems, and so he's hearing you, and you're his sister, and so he grew up with you, so he's going through some emotions while you're going through what you're saying right now, because a lot of the stuff he probably didn't know. So I'm going to transfer it over to James so he can say what he has to say about what we're talking about so far.
Oh dear. I mean, looking at that, and I agree 100%, is that you do have to go through it, go through whatever emotion you have to go through to kind of balance yourself out. I think whenever you take certain substances or whatever it is to get rid of that pain, you lose your balance or your equilibrium, so to speak, to what's going on in your life, because that life is like that. When you look at different energy patterns, you see that there's always a positive and a negative side to that. So whenever you try to cut out that negative side, you trying to put your whole life on a lopsided flow. You can't just constantly go up, or you're gonna crash drastically.
Right.
You're gonna fall. Like Tilly said, that stuff is waiting for you there. So you get off your cloud 9, you're gonna drop all the way to the bottom. None of that stuff is going to help you other than what you really need. And I think time is a great equalizer for that. But you need to take the time to focus on your situation that's going on around you, especially if you're unfamiliar with it, like me losing my nephew. I couldn't even talk to Tiffany about it. And I know we're going off on a tangent right now, because it's really hard for me to talk about that. I don't even know how to approach it, because it's a very different situation, for me, and maybe this phone call might need to be it, but I figure we'll get some time to really talk about it, in time, because I don't know exactly how she's feeling. I know it's just a lot of hurt and a lot of pain, and I know that I'll be honest, I couldn't do anything about that, even if we just talked about it. I'm not going to really ease that pain other than give her maybe a few minutes or a few hours of feeling okay about it, but then again, she's going to have to go back to face that pain however she needs to face it, because it's going to be up to her at the end of the day on how you look at your circumstances, and how you bring what what is negative back up to what can also be a positive, but it's all about perspective on her end. It's going to be about her perspective, how she's going to take that. And I see my sister. She went through. She went through a grieving process, and I can't say she's not grieving now. She still might feel it. She still might be going through different things, but I can see her managing her time with what she needs to manage it with. She's focusing on the things that she needs to focus on to just to get by, just to make life, make life more livable, more fulfilling, And I think Amelia is helping out a lot with that. She's going through her moments right now, but it is about that perspective, and for her, I know family is a big thing, and like I said, it was just difficult for me to talk. Like I said, I still don't feel comfortable, talking about the whole situation about my nephew. So, so.
And I understand that, but it's just, to me, I understand. I don't want to interrupt you. I didn't want you to feel like you had to keep talking. I don't want to interrupt what you had to say. Go ahead.
No. I mean, that was the gist of it. But I agree. It's going to take time, and it helps when people.
I wanted to clarify something, because you said that it takes time. And I don't want to cut you off, but I have to say this while you're on that track, so that what I say that it's not disjointed. But it's a common misconception that time heals, when really time doesn't heal. It's work that heals. You have to. It's work.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of introspection that you have to do. Like I had to go back to. I started with my first conscious memory, like the first thing that I can remember, and I went from that moment. I went to every episode in my life where I was hurt or let down or felt some type of grief.
Right.
And I had pages and pages of things that had occurred in my lifetime. It was a timeline. So if you can imagine me drawing a straight line across paper, I had several sheets of paper with a bunch of little hash marks of all these things that happened that were a disappointment or some sort of a hurt. And I had to think about what was I taught from childhood to negate what I was feeling, so that other people didn't have to deal with my pain. I wasn't inconvenient. Because that's why, we learn these things, because other people are uncomfortable and they don't want to deal with your grief. And not everything, not like I said, death is not the only grief event. I mean, I had a rabbit that ran away, and I grieved for that. I still think about that rabbit. Her name is Jenny, and I still think about her. You know, But and I had to acknowledge that. I had to. Part of my healing process was acknowledging that even though I was 4 when she ran away, it affected me. And I'm, 30-something now, and it affected me. And until I spoke to that emotion, I was harboring that with me.
Right.
Yeah.
You know?
And see, you have to. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah.
No, I'm saying
that's what I talk about No, and that's what I talk about perspective. Because you're right, time is not the determination of how of how you're gonna feel, how you're gonna heal. You know,
right? Because if so, there would be no wounded people right now. Still stuff like that from when they were children. You know.
Yeah. Right. Right.
Yeah.
It's about how you take on those situations, and then over time, you know, especially when you say when you have to face it. You know, that's a big thing because a lot of people just don't want to face certain things in reality that happen to them.
Yeah. Because you have to take it up. It's just like the African saying, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. You got to just take it one step at a time. And God tells you it's one step. Well, it is, and we get so in a point, and when you said that, because everybody had emotions about it. And I know because you and James are so close, I remember there was some stuff I remember telling, I don't know who I was talking to. I said, I remember when James ran out there to the ice cream truck. And I remember my first thought was, for real, Daddy gonna give him this money. You know how many dishes, how many pieces of silver, how many floors we had to mop for $5? But then I thought about it, $5. It wasn't but 75 cents. And then in my head, I had to start thinking, and I wasn't angry about it. To me, it was cute because I was going through I was trying to be okay with everybody being okay. And I remember James going to the truck, and I had to stop and just start thinking. And I was just like, because why did Daddy give him that much money? And then when he got to the truck, he says, he said, son, what is it what do you want to get? And James got, I want a blow pop, whatever it was, it was red, white, and blue. When you open it, you started eating at the blue part, and then you go to the white, and you go to the red. I don't know how to call it, what it's called. But then he got another one for Tiffany. And I didn't even realize that until later, because they've always been like this. And I remember they got into a fight outside, and James is younger than Tiffany, but he always thought he was an old man. And James went out there, and somebody said something or did something to Tiffany, and I think James was like 2 or 3 years old, or 4. He jumped up and busted a boy that was like 6, 7 years old in the mouth for saying something that hurt Tiffany's feelings. So these are things over time, and I say that, and I know it sounds stupid, but the reason I brought that up is when you said that, I thought about I love my animals too, and God, I had so many animals, but when they would die, and it was money she could have cared, she was there, they said, it's okay, they dead, you throw them somewhere. Daddy would go outside, went and get a box, take them, put them in the box, put something on the box, and then he say, well, he's dead. You know how daddy say stuff, and real dry. And he said, y'all go get your clothes on. We're going to go have a funeral. And then we would go out there, and you say we'd just say Smokey, because at the time maybe it was Smokey. Tell Smokey what you want to tell him. And first you put you say what you have to say to Smokey. And, I thank you for playing with me. I thank you for doing blah, 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 as you're throwing the flowers on there and Daddy putting the dirt on top of there. That was a process. He allowed us to go through that process. You understand what I'm saying? And that with your son, because you have always been the one that goes introspective with yourself, Because I know one time, because I didn't really know what to say, because I never know what to say when people die. And I was just like, okay, I would call you and I would talk to you ad nauseum, because in my mind, you didn't know what I was doing. I was trying to figure out where you were, so I wouldn't say something or trigger you or whatever. And then one day you said, you can talk about it. It's just like that show, you can talk about the cancer. Tell her that it's called a cancer. Tell her she can talk about the cancer, you know. And so it was just like you said, you can talk about it. It's okay. She said, you said I have to go through this, blah, 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 blah. And that made me feel better to talk about it. You understand what I'm saying?
But I had to learn that. I mean, that wasn't something that, you know, that just wasn't in me. It's something that I was going through counseling at that time, and I had to learn that even though, you know, he was my son, you know, he's Chris's son too, and our experience is different because he was my son in a different way that he was Chris's son, and he's your nephew, James's nephew.
Right.
So you have, your loss is just as real as my loss, even though it's different.
Right.
So, and you know, even people, I know people are uncomfortable dealing with death, because even though that's the one thing that we all on this earth have in common, it's the one thing that we're most uncomfortable dealing with.
Right.
And when it happens, no one knows what to say or what to do, but it's okay. It's because everybody's feeling the same way you're feeling.
We're dealing with the emotions.
Exactly, because we've been taught not to.
Yeah.
And relating it back to, you know, obesity and stuff like that, I think it's a lot the same. You know, people are using food to distract themselves from whatever their issues are, whether they were molested, whether they just had low self-worth for whatever reason. You know, they're using food to feel better for a minute, but it only lasts for a minute. At the end of that meal, whatever it is you were running from is still right there waiting for you.
It's still right there waiting for you. And it's just like, and the mother didn't want to deal with his emotions, so she pretended like it wasn't there. And so it made him, so he's stuffing stuff down on the inside, and how can he deal with it? Because he can't talk to you, you know, about it, because he don't want to hurt your feelings. And so it's just, it's one thing after another, compiled on top of another. You understand? It's just like, it's like, with men process things differently. But when it's your sister, it's your brother, it's your whatever, you're going to have emotions about that. I remember when I asked James about it when you were there, and he was sort of, he felt uncomfortable about talking about it, and he said, oh, yeah. And so I just left it, you know, instead of pushing him with it, because you don't ever know. People have to process their thing when they're ready to process it. And I remember when my Aunt Odessa died and she left her children there, after years, people are still not talking about it. I'm just like, this is some bull crap. These children need to talk about this. So what I started doing, I was just like, you remember when your mom did so-and-so, so-and-so? And we would start laughing about stuff that she did. And then it was okay because they wanted to talk about their mom. You know, and we were all distraught about it, but you grew up with her. You know, your whole life was with her. Just part of my life was with her. And so we have to, these are things that we have to worry about. I remember talking to Tiffany, and she was just like, I said, you know, James came when I there, and he got a pop for you. And I said, I didn't even realize that. She said, I said, you all have always been, what's the word I use? I said, y'all have always been something, y'all always been close. She said, yeah. She said, until I got, but he said, yeah, when I got over want to strangle him, you know, you know, but only she knew that. That was something that she was going, and that she, as the time went by, you all got closer and closer because she didn't know she's the firstborn. And now you're taking attention from her, and now she realized she can put her attention on you and vice versa. I remember talking to Jennifer the other day, and I said, you know what, Jennifer, I said, remember when I saw you once and you were holding your baby and you were patting the baby on the back, but I could tell you were sad. But then the baby started patting you on the back, and the baby had to be like 7-8 months old. So these are emotions. Emotions it's energy, and it's being transferred. And we have to deal with this in order to get this thing together. You know, And so that was, and, going back to the obesity thing, that was the mother didn't want to deal with the child being emotional because she had her own problems. And so it was just one thing after the other after the other, So
yeah, I mean, that could be a huge situation right there, because it could have been the mother was feeling bad about herself, or what she might have been doing wrong, in the whole process, and she didn't really want to face that either. It could have been like that. I can't speak for her, but I mean, there's a lot, because she probably lived a certain lifestyle. She might have been healthy, or like to work out a lot her whole life, and then she's wondering why that didn't transfer to her kid. He might have just hated.
Well, you know what? When you say that, that's true, because she did say that I want him to live his life. She said I was in the junior varsity at the what they call them, the cheerleaders. I was in this, I was in that, and I want him to be able to live his life. That's true. I just thought about when you said that. She did. I remember her saying something like that, but she did it and passed over.
She probably wasn't focused. Yeah, the problem was she wasn't focusing on him, so she probably might have been forcing all this stuff down his throat when that might not have been his personality in the first place.
Exactly.
So now there's a process where he's feeling like he never equals up to what his mother wants him to be. And then on his side and on her side, why isn't he like this? Well, the focus should have been on who he was from the start. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You could have pinned or zoned in on his actual natural abilities, and he might not even have that part. He might not have had that depressed feeling, of never equaling up to what his parents want him to be. So yeah, that's just one situation. Like I said, I can't put words in anybody's mouth, but you have a situation like that. Especially when you have kids, you gotta focus. You gotta focus on that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And not to put blame on anybody, because people only know what they know, and they can only do what they can do. And at the end of the day, everybody has choices to make. And even though his death is tragic, he chose that, and no one should have to bear the weight of that, because that's not fair.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Maybe she wasn't the best parent. Maybe she wasn't the most focused parent. But whose parent was perfect?
Right.
So
Exactly.
we have to be careful not to assign blame, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Right.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to assign blame, because everybody is going to be, no matter how you were raised, you just have to know that your parent did the best job that they can do. And that's how I try to see everything,
Exactly.
They just did the best job that they're capable of doing, period. Or if they had the capability to do better, they would have done better, period.
Exactly. Yeah.
So they're going to do exactly.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, but there is.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, but there is a choice that he has to make, especially as an adult. You have to make certain choices for yourself, and you can't stay in that little pit of what's the word I'm looking for? Of doubt, or just not feeling like equal to anything. At some point, you have to realize that for yourself and try to pull yourself out of it. Hopefully, you get no training, or not just training, or you get that kind of visualization that you can be more than what everybody else wants you to be. And you can start living your own life.
That's true. But our whole goal of being on here is to be as truthful as we possibly can. And a lot of times we're in a society right now where people don't want to hear the truth. They'd rather make up something. I remember when I was in college once, and we had a teacher, it was a psychology class. He said, what I'm trying to tell you is it's okay to build houses in the sky. He said the problem you have is when you try to live in them. And so what we're trying to do now is trying to live in the castles that we built in the sky, instead of, like, we went back to the emotional part, the mental thing. Instead of us instead of going back to this is why we're into the drugs and stuff and all the medicine, instead of us dealing with what we have to deal with, and you continue to take more drugs and to do something else, because now it's not working anymore. So I got to take more, and I got to take more, and I want to get out of this, and I don't want to hear it, because when it's all said and when it gets off of you, I think James said this, one of y'all said this, all that's going to still be there waiting on you. I think Tiffany said that. It's still there. It's patient. It's right there waiting for you to deal with it. Yeah.
Yep.
So that was the thing. And so that's what we're talking about is we're going through this because I've seen a lot of stuff that I've seen on this show that you can parlay everything into, because then you see they're hooked on the computer, they're hooked on the internet, they're hooked on, some of them have to drive 9-10 hours in an ambulance for somebody having to take their vitals and stuff, and they're on the phone texting and on the internet, and they get there and he's just like, they don't see how serious they're about to die. You know, this is you are totally overweight. You know, so it's just like we can't see, huh?
No, I was agreeing with you.
Yeah, I can't. For the longest time, as I got bigger, as I got larger, when I was younger, I was just like, okay. Then I would, because we had scales everywhere, and it got to the point where I would avoid getting on the scales. I didn't want to see anything over 200. Because that was a number that they had put in your head. And when I got to that 289, I'm just like, oh my God, you know, it's just like, okay, I've gone over the top. But now we have things that'll take your mind off of all that. Because I heard people say, I heard these guys, you 900 pounds, and you say, I don't know how I got to, I didn't know I had gotten this big. And I'm just like, what did you think? And you can't walk. But it's the internet. It's everything is taking. It's the drugs. It's because one of them OD'd on drugs. It's the drugs. It's the stuff that's taking you away from yourself.
There's actually a movie. I hate to cut you off. I just want to get this thought out. There's a movie that came out. It's got to be a 10-year-old movie, if not older. It's called Click, and it was an Adam Sandler movie. I'm not an Adam Sandler fan by any stretch of the imagination. Okay? And I'm not anti Adam Sandler either. He's just not my cup of tea most of the time. But in this particular movie, it was a goofy movie, but in the end, it had a really powerful message. He was at this hardware, electronics store, and he was looking at the television, and this guy sold him a remote control that he could use to control his life. And one of the things that he would do is when something like his wife was nagging him or his kids were doing something that he found annoying, he would fast forward through that moment. And then, as time progressed, he kind of like woke up and realized in like his 60s that he had fast forwarded through like all the major events in their lives because the remote had this auto setting where, because he fast forwarded one type of thing once, anytime anything similar came up, it auto fast forwarded through it, and he couldn't stop it. So he had missed all the major events in his children's lives. He had lost touch with them. He became a robot. And I think that's what happens. When people say, I didn't know I got that big, it's because they've been fast forwarding through those moments, and it's like they've lost touch. They've become detached from their day to day. Even though that's all they can do is sit and eat because they can't get out of bed. It becomes so mundane that it's like you don't even realize you're doing it. It's just like when you get in the car and you've been driving for 20 minutes and you realize you don't know where you're at. It's like you detach yourself from the mundane, and it can get away from you before you know it.
Right, because I've seen them, and you're right about that. Because I was going to say, but they get on the computer until the computer is taking their mind. But I saw this guy, he was 800 and some odd pounds. He's sitting on the bed, and he's demanding that they bring him food, and they're bringing him food like a drone. But he's sitting in the bed with nothing on. He is totally naked in front of the cameras. It's like they have got to the point they have no shame. It's just like nothing is there. You know, it's I'm just like, oh my God. And when you said that, that's true, because there are things that take you away from reality. And I hadn't even thought about that, because I remember thinking, I'm just like, why is he sitting here? And he knows they're filming him, because you see them going around the bed with the camera. And he ain't got no clothes on. He get up with his naked behind showing, all his front showing. Well, you can't see them anything front because his stomach hanging down to his ankles. But it's just like, oh my God, maybe he thinks the stomach hanging down is a covering. I don't know. But yeah, that's true. It's just we allow ourselves just to be taken away from stuff instead of being in the moment every moment.
Right.
I didn't even think about that. That's true.
It's true. And it's true, and it's true in a lot of different instances, not just that, you know.
Yeah. And I just because we were talking about this, so I was talking, but that's the I'm thinking I don't want to get back into my life, but that's really I was talking to a friend of mine, Tank, and y'all know him, but he was saying when I had gone to Maryland for the holidays, that we went to the holidays, and I had totally, because being in Alabama, everything is slow. It's just like, and at first it took me like, oh my God, years just to figure out this is crazy. This is insane. Do you not see this is a problem? You know, but I had to just chill out because this is not where they are. And so I had to go to myself. And so I brought up the Christmas thing because every time he called, I was somewhere with somebody. You know, we were going somewhere. Yeah. And I said, this was my life. I said, this is the way they live their lives. I said, this is the way we've always been busy. I said, and it was, to me, I had totally forgotten about it until I had been there a few days. And I was just like, okay, I can do this, you know, and I can go and do X, Y, and Z. And it's just like it's almost like being in a black and white movie here, but it's in Technicolor. You know, it's just like stuff that I'm just like, you cannot be, but it just is what it is, and it's just like you have to shape shift. That's the word. We're constantly we have gotten away from being the ability to shape shift. Because we've always done it. We talked about that when we were talking about we were saying because as Blacks, African Americans, whatever, we speak 2 or 3 different languages, and that's just what depending on who we're code switching. Yes, we do that, and that's shape shifting. We've been doing it we had done it for so long, but now we're in a society where television takes that away, games take that away, the internet takes that away, and then people, just like he was sitting there naked, he did not realize that wasn't kosher. And so so this is the mental part of, and they had to get them. It was like as when they had gotten to a certain point of being so obese, and they had the surgery, and they're just like, and you know, it's been a month. You know, at first I wasn't hungry. Now all those cravings are coming back, and I'm just like, this is what they should have told you in the beginning. And now you have gone, and you've gone a month, and you've lost 200 pounds. I think at a certain weight they started to take the skin off. Why are you doing this? You know, you're replacing scars with something that's seamless. But you know, that's if that's what you want, that's fine. But then they're having to do this, and then they gain the weight, and their skin is bursting open because they weren't prepared to have to control themselves. So this is our thing is not to talk about. Because there go I, except by the grace of God. Like I said, I'm one hamburger away from being obese myself. You know, if all I got to do is give in to one craving, and then that craving goes in, because we're actually being hooked on this stuff that they're putting in the foods. We're being hooked, and I think Tiffany had brought it up. The sugar, you know, the sugar that we're putting in there, all the GMO, because GMO is not something that's natural, and that's giving you a fuzzy feeling, because that's all we want is that fuzzy feeling now. And when you put the GMO in there, and then once you eat it, you can't. I had given somebody something. I was just like, I don't know why you keep eating this. I was talking to Tank. I said, baby, I said, you're going to have to start. I said, I remember, I don't care what my grandmother did. I said, my mom did it to a certain point. If they cooked chicken or whatever, I don't care whether they were frying it or whatever, they call it parboiling. I don't know whether anybody knows what that is anymore. But they would go in there and put it in a boiler of hot water, but because my grandmother because they were talkers, they would tell you why they were doing, and I was a question asker, but you would see the foam bubbling up to the top, and she said those are the impurities that's coming out of there. They would only do it to that point where the foam was coming up, and they would pour all that nasty water out because they were getting all the impurities out. And we're not doing that anymore. We think everything, because we get it and it's already been cut up and it's already been done, we don't have to do anything else anymore. And then I talked to him tonight. He said, you told me to boil that. He said, I did that. And I told him when I did put it on the grill, I said, okay. I told him, I said, if you don't put it on the grill, I said, you need to put some wood on there, not that stuff that they give you in the store. So he put the stuff in there. He said, that's supposed to change the taste of the. I was just like, it's not supposed to change the taste of it. I said, it's supposed to still taste like chicken. And he was just like, and then he stopped and he said, because I had never had chicken that good before. Because I've never had
real chicken tastes like.
Say that again.
So it's the first time he tasted what real chicken tastes like with all that other, all the other stuff in it.
Exactly. And I told him, I said, because you're so accustomed to eating all those chemicals. I said, so I said, I'm glad for you. I said, I praise you for that. I said, that's good. I said, that's good for your body. You know, you can say that I'm doing this, and that, and it's happening but it's you think because you're eating food that, like it used to be, the food was sustenance. You know, it had everything that you need, but no longer. You have to pay attention. So, let's see. We're almost at an hour, but I don't know whether I don't know how long I've been on here because James and I have been on the phone longer until Tiffany got on there, so it may not have been an hour. But it's where we are now because we were talking, and I talked to this older man about building a chicken coop for me because I really want to start buying non-GMO chicken. I don't want the chicken raised on GMO. I don't want nothing that the chicken producing giving me GMO. You understand what I'm saying? And so it's just like we're going. We talked about this. What was it we were talking about when you were doing the session, Tiffany?
What now?
We were talking about. We had talked about generational housing. We were talking about finances. We were talking about eating properly. I think that was part of it. And that was, this is where we're going to have to get, or we're going to be so sick that we're not going to know our head from our butt.
We're talking about learning how to produce your own produce.
Yes, yes.
Yep.
And starting small. I mean, you don't have to, start out producing for, enough food for a year. You just replace certain things gradually, and it becomes easier the more you do it.
Exactly. Yep. And so we don't want to talk about how obese these people are, but what we want to yes, it's a truth. We're not making up lies. This is factual and actual. But now we want to talk about how you can prevent or how you can take it away. You can slowly. It's not going to be all of a sudden you're just going to lose weight. It's not going to work like that. It's going to have to, but you have, like Tiffany said, you have to start to gradually take certain things out of it because you're going to feel, just like I was saying about Tank, he was saying how good the chicken tastes. You're going to start to taste things and feel things that you haven't felt before. And pain is one of them. Sometimes you're going to have to feel pain. But I heard you saying something, James. Go ahead.
No, I mean, I agree with you.
Okay.
Yeah, just basically, you got to detox yourself however you need to do it, whether you got to find somebody to talk to or you got to go through it. Is basically what I'm saying. You got to go through it. Of course, there's a lot of chemicals and stuff in the food too. So watching and dieting, whatever that diet may be, you know, you got to pay attention to all that stuff, man, because a lot of that affects the way that you think. It sets off a lot of sensors and stuff in your brain. It makes you keep wanting more and more and more, you know, and you know, and just focus on what's best for you. You know, look at your body and your lifestyle, and the lifestyle that you want, and, you know, kind of focus on that. I think that's very important.
Right, because you want to be healthy, you know, and whatever it is you're doing, and everybody doesn't have to be a size 2 or 0. I suggest that's not natural, but you want to be healthy. You want to feel good. You want your mind to be clear. I think there's a scripture that says, when I want you a sound mind and a sound mind, but it was part of the scripture. You want to have a sound mind, and when you start putting these chemicals in your brain, that's affecting the way you think and the way you remember things and the way you affect the way you respond to things.
Yep,
You know?
exactly.
Yeah. So I agree. I totally agree with you on that. Tiffany, you still there?
I'm here.
Oh, okay. So, but
and I agree with you.
We're, huh?
I said I'm here, and I agree.
Yes. So I'm going to say our goal is, I think they have this little saying. There's a saying they'll say, you know, always stay woke. And I agree with that. The Bible tells you to know the times that you're in, and you have to know where you are. And that. Oh, hello. I thought I heard somebody say something. Yeah, you have to know the times that you were in. You have to know that, but we have to, because as a people, as African Americans, we're in this country. You got to know. We're calling it African Americans because that's what they want to call that continent right now. We'll give you the names of this later, what the original name of that continent is. But as African Americans, our culture is totally different. But you have to realize this. You just like we know you. You have to know, and I mean, because everybody's not going to be the same. Everybody's not going to have everybody's not going to be a truth teller. Everybody's not going to be this, that, and the other. You got to figure out who it is that you gel with. But what we want to do is to make you the best that you can be. And there's another scripture, and I'm going to say this, and I'm going to I'll turn it over to James and Tiffany. But if you have attained your portion in this earth, you consider yourself blessed. And so you want to have, and you can't do that when you're building castles in the sky and then trying to live in them, because sooner or later, the facts are going to come out. You're going to fall, or you're going to do something else. So this is what I'm saying. And I'm going to, when I do post this stuff, I'm going to post some information on there, post where I got it from, and so, but just be conscious. I think Spike Lee says, wake up. Now they're saying stay woke or whatever. Well, we need to wake up, get outside of the matrix, and do what it is your healer, the ones who created your creator made you to be. And it's not to be a slave. It's not to be to anything, whether it's television, computer, the internet, to food, anything. So be blessed. Know that we're on your side. Any information that we get that we're interested in, we're going to bring it to you. And just be blessed and know that everything will be okay. And so I'm going to turn it over, I guess, over to James and Tiffany, and you all can figure out who wants to talk first.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Go. Definitely. Look within yourself. You know, to try to find the answers that you need. You know, because it's going to be up to you to get yourself through these situations, especially when you're dealing with obesity and any other situation.
Yes.
Just try to focus on what's best for you, because it's very important, and you can really get yourself lost
right
within that, listening to everybody else or taking everybody else's opinions to heart when really, when this life is really about you and how you do things and how you deal with situations. So, but in this life, we're taught many things, but I challenge you to find what matters most, and that's Gnosis. Know your past so you can operate in the present to secure the future that you always dreamed of.
Yes.
Tiffany.
Amen.
All right, thank you. So, family, I thank you for joining us this evening, or whatever time it is when you do join us. I hope we've given you something to think about, something to chew on. If you have any comments, feel free to contact us. You can reach us on Podbean and on Facebook and at ties.bind.com. You can find us by that name on any of those 3 platforms. Share your story with us. Hit like, subscribe to us, and let us know your thoughts. We'd love to hear from you. Oh, and if you want to email us directly, you can go to ties.bind.com, click on any of our pictures. It'll bring up an email link that you can email us directly. We look forward to hearing from you.
Exactly. Yes. And so we're going to say be blessed and have a wonderful, blessed week, and that you attain your portion one step at a time in this earth. Amen. And be blessed.